My mind, and then I went back. Keep your eyes on the road, mate. He identifies as a good driver. Avi Yemini for Rebel News in Melbourne, Australia, where a small group of extremists are gathering to protest an issue I didn't know was even a problem. Let's go find out. With your little gang of thugs, what are you doing here?
I don't know if I'd call them thugs, Avi, but yeah, great group of people here today. We're here to talk about the Victorian education policy that comes under Dan Andrews' government, and that is that children can be transitioned at school without parental knowledge or consent and without medical consultation, which is just mind-boggling. So we're talking about school staff, teachers, counsellors and other school staff who are not medically trained, who are not the parents of these children, but if they feel a child wants to transition and isn't going to get parental support to do so, they can facilitate it. They don't even need to go and get medical consultation, so they don't need to see a psychiatrist, they don't need to see a counsellor, they don't need to see a paediatrician to do this.
What's a woman?
Oh, well, it's the right chromosomes and got all the biological...
Bigot. What do you care? Why are you getting involved?
Well, because the majority of parents are better at raising children than the state. Daddy Dan isn't the best person to bring up our kids. Parents are best placed to bring up their children.
You don't trust Dan?
No.
Why not? He's been so honest in the last 4 years.
He has, hasn't he?
Would you let Dan Andrews babysit your grandchildren?
Not on my life. No.
Most children are not capable of making the decision of the transitioning process. They're not competent and mentally developed enough to do a lot of things, as we know, like get tattoos, get married, drive a vehicle, drink alcohol, all of those things, because of the scientific fact that the brain is not fully developed in those areas.
Are you a grandparent?
A grandparent.
Only thing that's legal at 22.
Here in Melbourne, the Gender Clinic will put children on puberty blockers within a couple of consults. Those puberty blockers stunt genital growth, which means those children will not have any sexual function once they're adults. They will become sterile. They won't have the ability to have children. They will have bone density issues and, again, brain development issues. That is what paediatric specialists are telling us. And so for Dan Andrews and his government to create this policy where school staff, they're untrained in these areas, can begin and facilitate the transition of children is dangerous and harmful to these children, because there's not a 12-year-old on earth that could say to you, I don't want to have sex as an adult. They don't know. How would they know? And they can't say, I don't want to have children as an adult. Again, how would they know?
Critics would argue you're just transphobic and you're using the kids as a way to express it, or a palatable way. What would you say to them?
I've been called every name under the sun, Avi, and I couldn't care less. It's not true. This is about the children, and if adults don't take the responsibility and stand up for these children, then nobody will. And we'll see people like Dan Andrews think that he can be a better daddy than their actual parents. The fact is, this is all based on a lie. Nobody can change sex. It can't happen. It's dress-ups.
But sex is not gender. Come on, you know that. Haven't you been watching? What's going on?
So I would say to transgender people or whatever, what are they trying to appropriate then? If it is gender and they want to be a woman, well, what is a woman? If you can't define what a woman is, what are you trying to become? And most of the time, all they appeal to is rigid stereotypes, which we have fought for not just decades, but a century, and going, let's deconstruct these stereotypes. You don't put on a dress and say you're a woman. You don't put on makeup and say you're a woman. You know, that would mean half the women in this country are not real women. So it's inextricably linked, sex and gender. It's just this fluffy word that, you know, activists try and make us feel guilty about. I won't have a bar of it, Avi. It's not true.
I feel like Kirralee's using young, hot women to sell her product here, and I find that a little bit wrong. Sexist. Do you identify as a woman? Is that why you're with this bunch? You do make a lot of sense, and I do want to get behind you, but my son really wants to be a dinosaur. Are you going to cut that out of...
It can be a dinosaur. And look, kids...
So you don't have a problem with the dinosaur?
Kids, part of their development is imagination and imaginative play. And what kid hasn't pretended to either be a dinosaur, a dog, an astronaut, a fairy, a unicorn, or the opposite sex. That's a healthy part of development. Dressing up and play is really, really important, and I encourage it 100%. But why can't we say to those boys who really love dresses and female stereotypes, great, you're a boy that really loves being feminine, no problem. Or you're a girl that is a tomboy. What's going to happen to all the tomboys, Avi? Are they going to get their breasts cut off and their uteruses removed because trans activists say, oh, you really must be transgender? Why can't they be a tomboy? What's wrong with that?
Do you have a problem with them waiting till they're over 18 and do?
Absolutely not. Adults can do whatever they like. What I have a problem with is penises in women's change rooms. I have a big problem with that. Penises in women's sport. I have a big problem.
What about
Even
vaginas in men's change room?
Well,
But some men, they wouldn't like you ruining that.
I hear you. Look, as adults...
Can we make an exception sometimes?
Well, you can do what you like, but I will stick to facts and stick to truth. So, no, adults can...
Hard-hitting questions here at Rebel News.
Adults can appropriate the opposite sex till the cows come home, but I won't go along with that, and I won't concede hard-fought and won women's spaces, women's rights, and the defence of children. I will not concede that, Avi, at all.
Just for the record, you're not actually taller than me. That's you're standing on a step, yeah?
Yeah, I know.
Facts matter. Okay, so the real question that Victorians probably want to know is, if Matthew Guy loses the election, can he just identify as Daniel Andrews?
He can do whatever he likes. He can do whatever he likes.
What's the reason? Is this the timing? Has it got to do with the lead up to the election? And what are you going to do? What's the plan?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's always a good time in Victoria in the sense that Dan Andrews has made a real mess of, so many issues. But with these policies now becoming law in Victoria, we have to make people aware. We did a phone poll into 5 key seats, including Dan Andrews. About 20 to 30% of people are actually aware that this is going on. That we asked 2 questions. So do you know 3 to 5-year-olds are being targeted with gender ideology, and are you aware that schools can transition your children without consent? About 20 to 30% of people said they were aware of it. 90% are utterly opposed to it. And so the big job for us is to raise the level of awareness. People don't know about it, but when they do, they're against it. From rad lesbian feminists through to atheists, through to Muslims, to the Asian community, Christians, everyone in between. As I said,
So you're bringing people together to be divisive. I like it. That is a rebel way to approach the world. To be honest, I think the truck actually identifies as a car. Avi Yemini for Rebel News in Melbourne, Australia. If you enjoyed this report, make sure to like, comment, and most importantly, share it far and wide, because trust me, the mainstream media, they won't give these radicals a platform. But Rebel News, that's what we're about, telling the other side of the story. And then head over to followAvi.com, subscribe to our mailing list, and follow me across all socials, because this is a touchy subject and they may remove us from the platform you're watching on right now just for giving these lovely people a platform. So followAvi.com, subscribe to the mailing list, and follow me across socials.